Go green.
Go white.
Go white. What do you mean go blue, Roy?
It's okay. Okay, good evening. We will call the meeting of the Bruce Township ZBA to order. First, we'll have roll call. Dana?
Tom Kilcoffin,
He's excused.
Kirk Moss,
Here.
Don Hook,
He's excused.
Jenny Teller,
Here.
Mike Tremblay,
Here.
Roy Zolno,
Here.
Rick Bennett, Barrett.
Not available tonight.
We have
Okay, we have a quorum. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is the approval of the agenda. We have one change. Item number 7B is being removed from the agenda because there are certain items that need to be adjusted, so we're not going to adopt those bylaws without those adjustments. So 7B will be removed. Beyond that, does anyone have a question on the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as modified.
Motion to approve as modified. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jenny. All in favor? Aye. Next item is approval of minutes. Regular ZBA meeting of October 23rd, 2023. We, the ZBA, are awaiting information from the petitioner that was required, actually, to be submitted along with his approval for the variances that he requested. As of this date, that information has not yet been submitted. So we are going to further table the approval or the consideration for approval of these minutes until our next meeting. So I'll take a motion to make that happen.
I'll make a motion to table the regular ZBA meeting minutes of October 23rd, 2023, until such time that the zoning board meets again and that the applicant has met all the requirements as required by the zoning board.
I'll support that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the regular ZBA minutes for February 26, 2024 meeting. Ms. Teller, I think you were in attendance at that meeting.
Yes, I'd like to move that the minutes of the February 26, 2024 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting be approved.
Moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Is there any unfinished business that anyone wants to bring up? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. We have a petitioner here, and Mr. Small, I believe it is, representing Ford Motor Company. And would you like to introduce yourself, name and address, please, and then proceed with your petition request?
Appreciate it. Thank you, Board, for taking the time this evening. My name is Christopher Small. I'm representing Ford Motor Company today, specifically the property at 74240 Fisher Road. The request is being made in front of you today to grant a variance for Section 161 3.1.1, subsection E specifically, which is the development standards limiting the max height to 2 stories and 30 feet. Ford Motor Company is requesting the variance to move it to 32 feet for this specific request, based around the use of the building, the regulatory requirements that are happening inside of the building, the structural height that would be necessary in order to do that. Documentation has been submitted to the board to review based on the requirements for that drop test. The drop test is a regulatory test. This facility specifically will be looking at the Korean motor as well as the international and China-based regulations. The max height that we would be looking to accommodate in this facility is a 4.9 meter drop. Based on the structural requirements of the apparatus that would be doing the drop, the suspension of the battery pack, the overhead rigging and controls, the height of the facility needs to be at a 32 foot. The structure itself is a 25-foot apparatus with room above it for the actual equipment to raise and actuate the drop remotely. That takes up a couple feet, and then we will still have all the mechanical and MEP that's necessary to distribute above that, fire suppression, all of our HVAC. And then we have a 18 K-bar joist that will be supporting the roof above that, so that's an additional 18 inches. And then we have our roof makeup membrane and insulation that gets us to that 32 feet. Based on the overall design that we are proposing, the facility right now is sitting approximately 3,163 feet off of the right-of-way, and is actually blocked from view, from any public view, by existing structures. If that structure to the south was not there, and we wanted to talk about sight lines, the existing sight line at 30 feet from that distance, the viewing angle is only a half degree, 0.543 degrees, almost imperceivable to the human eye. If we were to go to the 32 feet that's being requested by you, by the board today, it moves it to 0.58 degrees. So we're talking about less than 0.04 of a degree change based on this from sight lines at public right-of-way.
Does any board member have a question for Mr. Small?
So at this point, none of those batteries have actually been tested out at that facility?
That's correct. This is a new test facility that we would be building out here. Most of our battery testing is actually outsourced right now. And so as a commitment from Ford Motor Company, we are looking at bringing that in-house and bringing those jobs to this state. Most of that testing is currently done in Texas right now.
And how many jobs do you think that's going to bring in?
So some of them are relocation jobs. The jobs that we're looking at right now, net is going to be about a dozen in the area, but we also have engineers that are going to be coming back and forth from our Dearborn operations as well, certain days of the week.
Now, what about safety? I mean, you think you're going to be like dropping these batteries like onto the ground and just to see if they're going to explode or
so
what?
The building is actually designed to be a battery regulatory testing. It is intended to observe and monitor the safety as well as the overall performance of the battery. So there are a variety of test chambers inside of this building, some that will have puncture impact testing to the batteries, some that will have drop testing or shake and rattle testing, some that will have charging testing. And all of this is intended to continue to test the performance of the battery under all different conditions. The site itself is a regulatory safety testing facility for us for vehicles currently. We test vehicles out on the Michigan Proving Ground site for curve, speed, impact, skid, drivability testing, all the like to meet the regulatory requirements. This is a continuation of that as we move into the battery electric era.
Okay, so the safety regulations are all met if these batteries explode and...
Correct. Above and beyond, yep. So we have, each test chamber is basically designed like a kiln. So that way if a battery does go ahead and ignite, we are actually intended to try and push the limits to see if that's going to happen and contain that ignition within each of these test chambers to observe and monitor that battery. That's the only way that we can study, test, and learn and make adjustments to batteries. As mentioned, they are kilns, so each one will have a internal structure that will contain. There is a full fire suppression above and beyond at a 0.6 density, going above and beyond regulatory requirements. In those test chambers, each one will have a catchment containment underneath it. So anytime that we do actually douse a battery with water, all of that water will be collected and then be disposed of through an external party. So it'll be treated and pumped out and disposed of off-site, meeting all EPA requirements. Each one of the test chambers also has a air filtration system on it, so the air will actually be fully scrubbed using different methods that meets all of the Eagle and air requirements for this site as well. Ford Motor Company is committed to safety. We have gone above and beyond even on our own standards, being more restrictive than code does for the actual protection of these spaces.
So if this is approved, when would you determine construction beginning for this?
So we have already done our site assessments, have already done our surveying. We already have architectural drawings in the work, have already passed the site plan review for this, so we've continued the drawings on that. We are ready to start breaking ground and doing minimal land grading within the coming months. The intent would be to meet a end of second quarter 2025 completion. So we're looking at a little under a year now to get this thing completely built and start these testings. Again, every day that we progress forward, the automotive industry is changing, and so are the combustion systems and propulsion systems that we use. And we are getting new regulations by the day that we're trying to accommodate and test for and meet for the local governments and governments abroad.
Okay, that answers all my questions. Thank you.
Any other board member have questions?
Yeah, we reviewed this at the Planning Commission meeting on May 1st, and we approved it contingent on this variance being.
I see.
So we asked the same questions you were asking, and many, many more. And Mr. Small was kind enough to answer them all.
Absolutely.
Mr. Small, I note on your west elevation drawing here that there's a little area that juts up above the 32-foot level, and what would that represent?
So that was originally a air exhaust stack just to raise it up above the existing parapet. That has since been removed and limited, and we talked about that a little bit during the Planning Commission, that the only thing that would be at the 32 feet is the roof of the two high bay test chambers with no rooftop mounted equipment above those.
I see, okay. And just a silly thing, we talked about this a few times. Did you ever consider lowering the floor a couple feet?
So we have, under each one of these is a test chamber catchment system, and so we don't want to put that any further in the ground than we need to in order for us to pump and evac that if we do have a fire suppression event to go. There has been discussions about, do you grade up the side and run the balance of the two? If that's a route that we need to take, we can look at that, but we were also trying to minimally disturb the site as well. So we've tried to cut and fill the site that this is proposed to go on as efficiently as possible, giving us that level pad.
Thank you. Is there a noise factor associated with this operation?
There is not. Nope. We would have normal heating and cooling systems kicking on and off, but that's all that we would hear and see.
And you mentioned that if there were to be a fire, that emissions would be scrubbed, et cetera.
Correct.
What would those emissions look like when they exited your stacks?
So they will actually go with a thermal oxidizer as well, because if we have a heat source in there, we will have a thermal oxidizer that will add moisture to the mix. If we see anything coming out of that, it would be like you would see coming out of a chimney stack on a house for a washer or dryer running during the summer or during the winter months.
Okay. And you've pretty well explained that these are industry standards that you're meeting or exceeding for this operation. And I have to go over a few things. Does any other board member have a question? Then I believe we can close the public hearing officially, and then we can discuss.
Did we ever open?
Actually, I never opened it. Yeah, should have opened it. But you're right, Mike. And okay, so we opened the public hearing. Mr. Small spoke. Now we need to close it. So is there a motion to that effect? Mr. Small, do you have any other thing you'd like to say?
Not at this time. Happy to answer any other questions if they come up.
All right. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and supported to close the public hearing
6:15.
at 6:15 PM. Any other comment on that motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, before we take any action, I just need to inform you of the things that we need to consider before we take action. And you've been advised, I understand, that since we don't have a 5-member board here, you still need 3 votes in order to approve a variance here, 3 of the 4 of us here.
Understand.
Okay. Things that we need to consider in considering motions for variances are these. 1, the strict enforcement of the zoning ordinance would cause practical difficulty and deprive the owner of rights enjoyed by other property owners owning property within the same zoning district. 2, the conditions and circumstances are unique to the subject property and are not similarly applicable to other properties in the same zoning district. 3, the conditions and circumstances unique to the property were not created by the owner or his predecessor in title within the time following the effective date of the provisions alleged to adversely affect such property. 4, the requested variance will not confer special privileges that are denied other properties similarly situated and in the same zoning district. And 5, the requested variance will not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the township zoning ordinance. That's it. So those are the things that we need to consider. And I will, if there's no other discussion from the board, I will entertain a motion on this item.
Well, I move that we approve the application of the Ford Motor Company to raise the height limit 2 feet to 32 feet to meet the requirements that they have laid in front of us.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any amendments to that motion?
I think we should include in the motion the reasons why we're approving them.
All
I agree.
the ones stated, you mean?
Yeah, we should formally state the reasons for the record, for the minutes. And I can help you with that.
That'd be great.
I think one is that this property is zoned residential suburban, and Ford was granted a special land use to operate the way they are. The proposed buildings that they're proposing, our testing facilities, would fit more into an industrial development. Our industrial height ordinance is 40 feet. So if this was truly industrial, they would be within the tolerance level of our industrial district. Number 2, it's a very unique piece of property. It's a 6 square mile piece of property. The closest setback that this building is 3,163 feet from the closest setback. It's going to be barely visible, if at all, to the surrounding neighbors. So I think those should be added as part of the motion to justify what we're doing.
Okay, and these are unique circumstances.
Correct. They're unique to the property.
I should have let you make the motion.
We'll get it. So we have a motion with amendments, and Dana, you've been through this a few times. You have captured those amendments to the motion? All right, we'll have a roll call vote on the motion.
Well, does Roy want to second whether you want to accept
No, I
the amended
second.
motion?
Seconded with the amendments.
The amendments. Okay. Now, we'll take a roll call vote on the motion.
Tremblay.
Yes.
Teller.
Yes.
Moss.
Yes.
Zolno.
Yes.
Congratulations, Mr. Small, your variance has been approved. And I think you can go back to the planning commission now. Does he need to go back?
No.
No, you don't.
Oh, I think the next is permitting.
Appreciate all your time this evening. We will be coming forth with permitting. Thank you so much. We look forward
And
to
good
it.
luck to you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for staying in Bruce Township.
Always.
Okay, moving on with the agenda. Any unfinished business that anyone would like to bring up? Hearing none, I've got behind myself here. Comments from the floor, which there is no audience tonight. so we won't have comments from the floor. Communications.
I'd just like to mention that this weekend is the Memorial Day weekend, and I'd like to encourage everyone to come to the parade starting at the Four Corners at 10 a.m. We will move on up to the cemetery. We should be there by 10:30, at which time we will honor those fallen veterans from all wars. We appreciate your support, and hopefully we will see some of you there.
This is all happening on Memorial Day.
Yes.
Thanks, Jenny. Anyone else have any other communications? Dana?
Yeah, I would like to thank Mike Tremblay for all of his years on the ZBA and all of your work and amazing mentorship to me. You'll never know just how much that all meant, aside from just the tremendous benefit that the whole Bruce Township has had because of your presence on all three boards. It's amazing. I don't know how we're going to fill your shoes.
Well, thank you.
Thank you again.
I'll echo that.
Yes, absolutely.
My wife says I will miss it.
And you will. All right.
We're only moving out of the township, and that's why.
If there are no other communications to be considered, then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn at 6:21 PM, is it? 6:27 PM. 6:21 PM, corrected. We need a roll call on this, or no? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
What's up?
Thank you all.